In the video that I previously posted, I was talking about why I was feeling overwhelmed and reasons why you too may be feeling overwhelmed. So if you haven't watched that, I suggest you do. And this video is based again on advice I was given by my friends when I told them everything that I told you guys in that video. And specifically, the advice that I'm sharing with you came from Fari and Celestino. Fari, Cele, if you're watching this, I love you. I'm not going to explain much of it. I explained most of it in this video. It's going to be up here. So I told them that I was feeling overwhelmed. Like, I didn't know where to start, I didn't know what to do, and that feeling of overwhelm was paralyzing. It's like I would have to muster up so much energy to actually do something. And when I told them this, they said the similar thing, but this is going to be in Fari's words, what he told me. He was saying that when you're climbing a mountain, you have your destination, you're looking at the peak of the mountain, that's where you want to go.
TJ!
So what Fari said is that when you're climbing a mountain, you have a peak. The peak is where you're trying to reach, and that peak represents achieving your goals. So if you try to climb the mountain and you're always looking at the peak, you'll be overwhelmed by the fact that you have 5 kilometers to walk up this mountain. You'll be overwhelmed by the fact that there's this steep area that's 3 kilometers ahead, that's not even right in front of you. And because you're always focusing on the top of the mountain, it becomes overwhelming. You start thinking, how can I possibly do this? How will I do this? How will I do that? But instead, if you focus on taking the next step, on navigating the tricky section that's in front of you, if you just put your head down and focus on going one step at a time, before you know it, you'll reach the mountaintop, you'll reach the peak, and you'll be surprised that you did it in a quicker time than you expected. So aligning this to your goals, right now, you may have the goal to start earning like $5,000 a month, right? And you're earning nothing. So if you constantly look at the peak, you look at the output, yes, fair enough, like always keep the end in mind. But if you only focus on the peak of the mountain, achieving that goal, while you're at the bottom and you haven't even started, you begin to get overwhelmed. You'll begin to start questioning things, to be thinking about 10,000 things at the same time. When all you should be doing is focusing on taking the next step that will progress you towards that goal. And you see, I had those goals. But for the first few weeks, instead of focusing on the next step I can take, instead of focusing on the input, I was focusing on reaching the top. I was focusing on, this is a long way away. And because I was doing that, I got overwhelmed. So what can you take from this? Have huge goals. The mountain represents a huge goal. I'm not saying that abandon the mountain, go away from the mountain. No, the mountain is there. The mountain should be there. You should have huge, ambitious goals that you don't even know how you're going to achieve. And the next thing you should do is, fair enough, look at the peak. Look at the peak from time to time, but do not focus on that peak. Focus instead on the journey, on taking the next step. Focus on your input rather than the output. Because when you focus on the input, it actually makes your life easier. Let's use the example we've been using this whole time of climbing a mountain. If you're focusing on the input, you won't be thinking about, I have 7 Ks to climb up this mountain, to hike up this mountain. You'll be saying, let me just take the next step. So you'll be so focused on the present moment, taking the next step, that you won't be bothered about how far you have to go. You won't be bothered about, there's a steep section up there. You will be focused on what's right in front of you. You will be focused on taking the next step, about avoiding that stone that's there. And when you're focused in the present moment, you enter flow state. And before you know it, as I said, before you know it, you will reach the top of the mountain. And lastly, enjoy the journey and remind yourself of the destination. Just make sure that you enjoy the journey. Just make sure that you enjoy the process of becoming your best version. Because there's no guarantee that you will achieve your goals. What you can guarantee is that you enjoy the process.